you doing?
Good, and you?
Pretty good.
So, how's life going with the pandemic right now?
It's crazy, man. I mean, nothing's open. I'm not working. My gym's not open. It's wild.
Man, that sucks, right? Um, I just wanted to dive into this interview. Like, you got your last win with a rear naked choke earlier this year. Um, is there anybody on your radar right now, like that you want to fight next?
It doesn't matter, man. I mean, as crazy as it is, I don't even know where I'm going to be fighting next. I mean, it could be the Contender. It could be back at Cage Titans. So it's really tough to like have an opponent I want to fight next because I don't even know what promotion I'll be fighting for next. I was supposed to fight April 4th against Lies Lima. I'll fight him if he takes the fight when everything's back to normal. Not a lot of people knew, but I was actually supposed to go to Australia and fight Alex Gorgees on
Oh.
May 15th, but obviously that can't happen either.
hmm And looking at this situation right now, like, how many times do you see yourself fighting this year? If the whole pandemic thing is still going on.
I mean, I was trying to fight 5, 6 times this year. With everything going on,
Wow.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm always trying to stay active, but I really don't know anymore. It's out of my control, and I think that's the most aggravating part. Honestly, I think the only way that I'll be able to fight before the end of the summer is if the Contender kit picks up or if the UFC calls me for a last-minute fight. I don't really see any other promotions making any noise until then.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. And 5 to 6 times, that's, we don't see Cowboy Cerrone fighting that much times in a year anymore. So, like, for me, that's just impressive on how much times you want to fight every year.
Yeah, man, I wasn't that active last year, and every year before that, I've been pretty active. The year of TUF, I wasn't super active either because that delay between filming and the finale, I missed out on almost 4 months. And then last year, a lot of people didn't want to take fights with me, so it was really tough. And I know I fought once this year, but I'm just itching to get back in there and fight, especially with 2 fights now this year already getting canceled. So I'm trying to fight as much as possible. As soon as I win my next fight, I'm going to be trying to find another one.
hmm And, we saw the Paddy Pimblett fight, fall out. He had to cut, I believe, 25 pounds in 10 days, right?
Yeah, that was a bad time, bad time.
Yeah. Do you ever see yourself fighting a guy like Paddy who's on the UFC's radar? And, are you still interested in that fight maybe sometime this year?
Yeah, Patty, I'll fight Patty whenever, man. He won't fight me on a full camp. I mean, I messed up. I missed weight, and I've taken responsibility for it. And that's the only thing he can hold over my head is he'll never take a fight with me because I'll miss weight again. I've never missed weight on a full camp, ever, in my professional career. He's done it twice as a professional. I'm down for that fight. I think it's a really easy fight. Not that he's a bad fighter, just stylistically, I'm a nightmare for him. And it's something that a lot of people, I feel like they overlook when they don't like somebody. They overlook their skills, and I think that's what he's doing with me. He doesn't like me, so he thinks I'm an easy fight, but hopefully he takes it.
Yeah. And, like, what did you think about all the Twitter beef, you had with him? And, like, just all the trash talk that he was going through. Like, how did you react to all of the stuff that he was saying?
I think it's pretty funny. I was aggravated at first because the guy you see on Twitter and the guy that's in real life are two different people. When me and him had gotten into it originally, he first was like, oh, yeah, it's cool, it's straight, da-da-da-da, and then he was talking about me again. So, he puts on a facade for all these people.
hmm
So it's one of those things where it's like, and it's on Twitter. He called me out to a bar fight while I was in his country, and I went and looked for him, and he shook my hand and said, we can be big boys and fucking walk away. And it's like, cool, we'll walk away. Like, I came here to fight, whether in a cage or in your backyard in a bar. I don't care. You asked for it. But, I left that night thinking, you know what, Patty's not a bad guy. And the next morning he was talking about me again. So if we get it on in the cage, cool. If not, it's whatever.
So he's kind of like a keyboard warrior, just putting on a different persona online and then, offline, in real life, he's just a totally different person.
Yeah, for sure. In person, he was kind of mouthing off when I first missed weight. And, he deserves to. That's my fault. But then, he was trying to like talk about it and, maybe we'll fight on the next Cage Warriors card, da-da-da-da. But then online he's chirping. And like I said, it's one of those things stylistically. I took the fight on last minute because I knew the hardest part was going to be the weight cut. I knew the fight was going to be no problem. I think my style is just a nightmare for him. So, if he's really confident that I'm such an easy fight, maybe we'll both get in the UFC and he won't be able to duck me anymore.
Yeah, for sure, man. And, talking about The Ultimate Fighter and the UFC, it's almost been 2 years since that finale fight with Mike Trizano. Just how do you like reflect on that fight, and did losing that fight make you even hungrier to get into the UFC?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you had asked me probably the rest of 2018, I would have told you you're crazy, but I think I needed that loss. And not like, a lot of guys that are undefeated for a long time, they get like an ego or anything. It wasn't a case of that. It was just, I feel like I stopped getting better. Even on the show, before the show, I feel like I was always getting better. Literally every day I could feel myself getting better. In that whole camp getting ready for Trezano, I still felt like I could beat him, but I didn't feel better. Every day I was like, yeah, I feel good. I feel great. I want to beat this dude, but not better. And it turned my focus back to that. As soon as I lost the finale, I was home. That fight was on a Friday. I was home from Vegas on Tuesday, back in the gym Wednesday, and since then I just feel like I'm always getting better, and that's how it was when I first started training. And I like it that way. Even right now, training at home, I got a set up in my garage. I feel like I'm getting better every day.
Yeah, and I saw that you trained with Khabib and at AKA. Like, how was that experience, and did that like help you any on the ground?
Yeah, man, it helps so much. I mean, he's literally the greatest 55 or maybe of all time. And to train with him, I know that that's the top. I mean, I know how far I am from that. He's so much better than I am. But it sets a goal for me. Like, all right, I need to get to at least here, because my goal hasn't changed since before the show. I mean, I've always obviously wanted to be in the UFC, but I want to be a champion in the UFC. All these guys are focused on getting on the Contender, getting in the UFC, and they're like, yeah, that's my goal. No, I'm trying to be the champion of the world in the UFC at whatever division I'm fighting at. So, I mean, I just think I set higher goals for myself, and a lot of people call me cocky. Some people call me crazy, but I mean, everybody needs a little bit of it.
Yeah, and looking at your coaches, Daniel Cormier, and your other, not your other coach, your other team's coach, Stipe. There's talks about DC fighting for the interim title, and that Stipe might get stripped. How do you what do you make of all of that?
I think it's crazy, man. I don't really think Stipe should get stripped. I mean, especially, he's trying to focus on being a firefighter. I do think he should pay a little bit more attention to fighting. But, at the same time, he says he's got nowhere to train. I mean, I'm sure he could make some accommodations, but I think he also respects, like, DC is not an easy fight. I mean, he doesn't want to half-ass a training camp, and I can't blame him for that. Whoever DC fights next, it needs to be for a belt or an interim belt. I would prefer the Stipe trilogy. I think that would really just be a perfect close in the book for DC's career.
And do you think DC takes that trilogy, and how do you see him winning that fight?
I think he can win that fight anywhere. I mean, I know he was winning the stand-up in the second fight, and then he got caught. But, yeah, I think you can knock him out again like in the first fight, or he could take him down, TKO him, or submit him. I mean, he's already proven his wrestling's better than Stipe's. I mean, he's the man.
Yeah. And your fellow TUF contestant, Jay Cuccinello, says that he'll fight DC. That's funny.
He will fight DC. Jay's the man. They had their spats on the show. Jay will fight anybody. He doesn't care.
Yeah. And, I asked the same question to Jay, but how do you feel about seeing your fellow contestants like Kyler Phillips and Bryce Mitchell, who didn't even make it to the finale? No disrespect to them, but how do you feel about them getting a contract and not you and Jay?
Honestly, I mean, like, if you were to pick based on just the finale night, I mean, if you were going to say we got to cut one guy and not take him, I would say it would be me. I mean, I think Jay showed more heart that night and he put more out on the line. I thought it was nuts that they didn't pick him up. If you were based off one night, I could see why they didn't sign me. But it's one of those things where it does sting, and I love the kid. I'm not taking a shot at him. Kyler, I mean, he's the man. I think he has the fastest knockout on the Contender. But he lost on the show, and he got a last-minute fight. He didn't take it. He got another last-minute fight. He got hurt, I believe. And then he got another fight, and he's in there, and he killed it. He looked amazing. But, it stings a little bit. I'd be lying if I said it didn't. I mean, it might sound like I'm just jealous. Probably am. But it honestly stings a little bit seeing so many chances for somebody. But there's nothing I can do about it except focus on myself. Everybody else, the guys that got there and earned it and did something, I love seeing my man Bryce up there. He's killing it. I mean, he's trying to finish you every second. He got a twister in the UFC. He just wants some damn camo shorts. Luis is killing it. I mean, those are my guys. Those are my roommates on the show. So it's really cool seeing them doing good.
Yeah. And, we saw that Brad Katona got released from the UFC, after 2 losses. Just how do you feel about him getting released? And do you think it's fair that, after 2 losses, they just cut like a tough winner like that.
It's crazy, man. But I mean, that's the day and age we're getting to with the UFC. There's so many guys that aren't in the UFC yet that might be better than guys on the roster. It's crazy. Like there's so many good fighters, and that's why, like I said, some people say I'd be cocky to say there's plenty of guys in the UFC right now I could take it lightweight. And Brad's the same way. I think Brad will be back. I mean, if he doesn't sign with another organization, I think he'll be back in the UFC. He had two really tough losses. They were close. But yeah, man, I mean, I still want that Trezano rematch, so he better not go losing any more fights.
And speaking about the Trezano fight, you know, I rewatched the fight today. Round 2 was a weird one because you guys were in the same position. How did it feel being like on the bottom of that? And just like, what was your mindset going in there, like, you know, being trapped in that position for like a whole 5 minutes?
It was so frustrating, and I couldn't think of a way to get the ref to stand us up because I had tried to take his back. I tried to get him in a figure 4 toe hold, and he just turned around and smashed me in the face, and I was like, well, that's not working. And I distinctly remember in the locker room, Mark Goddard was like, I'm not going to take any positions away from anybody, but I'm going to give you guys 2 or 3 warnings and then stand you up. We got about 5 or 6, and I'm just like, dude, stand us up. So I was like, you know what? All I can do is strike. So I just started elbowing him, and I was literally elbowing him in the butt. And I was like, I don't know where else to hit him. I couldn't reach his head. And then the crowd's booing, and I'm like, please stand me up. Like, neither of us are doing anything.
Yeah, that was like, you know, one of the funniest scenes I've seen in the fight because, I mean, you guys were just hitting each other's butts. So that's just funny. And, you know, like round 3, you know, didn't play out to how you wanted it to. You know, he came out the more aggressive. What do you take from your performance in that 3rd round? And do you think you might have got the decision after going through rounds of Trezano?
You know, it's funny because I had 3 different reactions after the finale. You blew your shot at the UFC. I had the ref screwed you, the judges screwed you out of that, and I had the other one of just, oh, you won tough, right? I literally had people messaging me like, yeah, you won. And I'm like, no, I didn't. And I argued with people. I'm like, I was there. Promise me I didn't. I promise I didn't win the show. But yeah, I think that 3rd round, it was a weird round, man. You know, I saw some openings and some straight left, some really like stiff shots I could have landed, and I just didn't let it go. You know, in my head, I was like, oh, there's the left hand. And then I didn't feel my body throw it. And it was just like, I kind of didn't know what was going on. My body wasn't really reacting as fast as my brain was. But I've learned from that, you know, sometimes you just got to let the technique go out the window. You just got to fight. And that's something I've been trying to take into my fights moving forward.
Mm-hmm. And the last question I had for you is like, you know, with TUF coming back, you know, who do you think would make some good coaches on the next season of The Ultimate Fighter?
So I was trying to think of some, and I couldn't. And then he thought of it himself. Darren Till tweeted that him and Adesanya would be good. I think that would be hysterical.
That would be hilarious, man. And who do you think would win that fight between Darren and Adesanya?
It's really interesting. You know, everybody's going to say Adesanya, but after seeing how they both performed against Kelvin, if Till comes in like that, I could see him beating Adesanya. I mean, we already saw, especially how Izzy fought against Yoel. He backs up and he's very cautious against guys with power. We know Till has power, and we know that he can go a whole fight without getting touched. Kelvin didn't touch him, didn't even scrape him. So I think it's going to be a really close fight, and I think Till would be a huge underdog when it's going to be a lot closer than that.
Yeah, I agree because, I mean, I think that fight could end up being a lackluster as they're both counter strikers. But, you know, I'd love to see another season of The Ultimate Fighter, maybe with Khabib and Tony as coaches. I'd like to see that.
That'd be interesting. I would like to see that back and forth every day.
Or maybe Colby versus Usman. Or
I'm surprised they haven't made that yet.
Masvidal.
I figured that Usman would get in with one of them for sure.
Yeah, hopefully they could do it though. But maybe they'll do like a redemption season.
Hey, I'm down.
You know. Yeah, thanks for taking the time to chat with us, Joe. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime. I'm just glad that I got my phone plugged in so I don't die on you again.
Yeah, I think that was like 2 years ago too. So like, you know, we've kind of rose up, but I'm very grateful that you were able to have your phone plugged in.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for taking the time out, man.
Okay, see you later, Joe.
Have a good one, man.